Hello everyone, welcome again to another Narc Survivor live video. I just checked into this hotel room, just had my dinner. Not much of a view from here though, it is quite dark. But yes, on to the topic of the video. Is the narcissist happy with their new supply? I'm sure this is a question that a lot of you have because you want to know what they're doing. It looks like they just moved on. They found someone else, they rode off into the sunset. Now they're living their best life without you. It may look that way, but I can tell you that the reality is very different. And you should already know that. You should already know that the reality is very different without you. But of course, I understand that a lot of you may not be aware of that. And the reason why is, of course, you have been manipulated, deceived, gaslit. You've been put through the ringer with these people. You've been taught all of these wrong things about yourself and about the narcissist. So it's time to put things into perspective for you. It's time for you to understand exactly what you are dealing with. Because I can tell you for a fact, 100%, I guarantee the narcissist is not happy with their new supply. And I don't care what you're seeing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or even TikTok. All of these things that you're seeing, it is all a lie. It's an illusion, it's a facade, it's a mirage, whatever you want to call it. The fact is that it is not real. And you should already know that because they were already with you. You, the empath. The person who, when they say jump, you say how high. You are at their beck and call. You are willing to do anything for them. And if you look back at your relationship with them, in the beginning, you may have been inexperienced. You may have lacked knowledge. You may not have known exactly how to deal with them. But over time, they began to tailor-make you to their liking. They made you exactly the way that they wanted you to be. Over time, you became perfect for them. You were the perfect grade A source of supply. You could do anything they wanted, whenever they wanted it, however they liked it. Until by the end of the day, you were completely drained. And even then, you were still able to entertain the arguments, the pointless, meaningless conversations that may have gone on for hours at a time until 3 o'clock in the morning. And even after that, you were still ready first thing in the morning when they woke you up with another argument. And you were able to go through that for months, even years. You put up with all of it. Despite all of that, you were still very kind, very patient. Maybe you gave them a place to stay. You provided them with your resources. You were everything that they could have ever needed you to be. And that is why a lot of times they are so focused on you. Until eventually you begin to catch on. You begin to realize what you were dealing with. And when you realize that, they don't like it. It bothers them, it irritates them. And they know that they cannot remain around you. They know that they've got to move on and find someone else, because they're not going to be able to have it that way with you anymore. But guaranteed, they are not going to find someone else to replace you. Because just remember the fights, the arguments, despite everything you did for them. And I know myself and my own experiences, but the narcissists that I have dealt with, I was perfect for them in every way. Everything they could have ever dreamed or wanted me to be, I was that person. I fulfilled their every desire, their every wish, their every command. Whenever they needed me to fulfill it, I was there. And I was always there. And despite all of the abuse, I remained loyal and devoted. And despite all of that, they were still dissatisfied. It still wasn't enough for them. Because that's just the thing. Even if they tailor make you to their liking, they make you exactly how they want you to be. Even then, they are still dissatisfied. Because the reality is that they are not even in tune with what they want, need, or desire. And they're just not even meant to have any authority or control over you to begin with. But they made you to their liking, to what they thought that they needed. When in reality, that was all just a distraction from themselves. A distraction from their own accountability for their actions. So all of these things end up impairing them. It instantly puts them at a disadvantage because they can never find happiness. They can never be satisfied. And you've just got to look back and think, everything you did for them, you remained loyal and devoted for all of those years. You were at their beck and call. You did everything you possibly could to make this person happy. And you just got to think, if someone else was in your shoes, they might have walked out at the first opportunity. Or even if they stuck in it, they wouldn't have done even a fraction of the things that you did. And many people may not even have the same qualities or abilities. They targeted you. They target the best of the best. So taking all of these things into consideration, there is no possible way that a narcissist will experience sustainable happiness or satisfaction with anyone. That is never going to happen. They will never experience that. And that is a guarantee, 100%. If you were dealing with a real narcissist, or even someone who is narcissistic, they're self-absorbed, they lack empathy. Maybe they're arrogant, they have a strong sense of entitlement. These types of people will never find satisfaction in anything in their lives. And that is a guarantee. I can promise you that. Because I already know those of you who are watching my videos right now, you found my videos because despite all of your loyalty and devotion and everything you did for them, despite all of that, you still felt like there's something you don't know. You're still feeling like you need to learn more. There's something you need to understand about them. Or maybe you're blaming yourself. You feel guilty. Most people in this situation After everything you've been through, the last thing they're going to be doing is blaming themselves or trying to learn more about the narcissist or understand them. They're just going to run off in the other direction and forget about them. But this is exactly what we do. We try to learn more. We try to figure things out. We try to dissect the gaslighting because we really are just the perfect sources of supply. It's like when they say jump, we're ready to jump on the moon. But we're ready to jump into outer space. Just to show them that yes, we can make them happy, we can please them, we can satisfy them. But no amount of what you do is ever going to be enough. There's people who have devoted their entire lives. They've been a slave to the narcissist. Their entire life has been controlled. Their mind, their body, their soul. They gave up everything. They sacrificed their entire life. So many people have been through that. And despite that, in all of my years of experience and research, no one has ever come to me and said that they have made a narcissist happy. No one has ever said that they have satisfied the narcissist, or that they've even seen the narcissist satisfied with themselves. So how could it ever be possible that a narcissist, a narcissistic person, just anyone who is self-absorbed and lacks empathy, they didn't care about you, how could anyone like that move on and be happy, whether it's alone or with someone else? That is impossible. There is no possible way that they will ever be happy. They will never experience that with anyone. And if they're alone, they will be driving themselves insane. Because narcissists cannot be alone by themselves. Their shame will eat them alive. But I do understand that it's difficult sometimes. Those of you who've been manipulated, deceived, gaslit, at some point you've got to detach. And you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and see what a wonderful person you really are. Because I've talked to so many of you already. You are incredible people. And yet we wonder why it's like this narcissist can never be loyal to us. And then it's like they run off with the first thing they find or see. Because they already know they are not meant to have anything significant with us. They could never measure up to us. And I'm saying that as an awakened empath. I've been through it. I've taken accountability. I've learned from my experiences. And I know that looking back, there are very few people in this world who could have done what I did for the narcissist. And yet we look at it like they play us down. They make us feel small. But in reality, they are just envious and jealous. They are very insecure. They cannot stand to be around an empath, especially an awakened empath. They cannot stand to be around that at all. It just completely tears their reality to pieces. It makes them feel like a pile of shit. And that is when you see them acting really desperate to destroy you. It's either that or they're running away. but they do not want to be around you. Once you're on to them, once you know what they're about, they already know they haven't got nothing coming with you. Because they know that if they're around you, you're not going to tolerate that anymore. You're not going to put up with that. They already know that you will annihilate them. Because that's how powerful empathy can be when it is directed to the right place, the right purpose. Many people hold this belief that narcissists are powerful. All it is they just have a lack of affective empathy. They're just willing to do things that a normal person would never do. And that's how they get the short-term results that they want. But that does not work long-term. It destroys them in the end. Well, for us, our empathy, that is far more powerful than narcissism. When you let your empathy drive you, and it doesn't have to be empathy for another person. It could just be the empathy for yourself. But whatever it is, as long as you have something driving you, motivating you, the narcissist cannot touch you. Not unless they lose their minds first. They have to destroy their entire reality. Any form of logic or reason, they have to go outside the box. They have to think irrationally. They have to completely detach from reality to even come close to you. They cannot engage with you on a level, authentically. And that is how you will know if you are an awakened empath, a super empath. You will know it because the narcissist will just completely lose their minds around you. They will act completely insane, even destroying themselves in the process, even destroying their own lives just to get to you. They will do all of that because they just cannot exist around you. They can't coexist. They cannot be in your space. Because just having that awareness, it is completely destroying them. Which is why even though you may have been the perfect supply and you were willing to do anything for them, that still isn't enough. Because you're not willing to be their slave. You're not willing to listen to them all of the time and do whatever they want you to do whenever they want you to do it. So they look at it like, yes, you may be an amazing, wonderful, incredible person, but what good is that for them if they cannot control it? When the irony is that if they are in control, it's no good for them anyway. It's only good if you are in control of it. So as soon as they take that authoritative role, they're already shooting themselves in the foot. They're already destroying themselves. But that's just what they will do. Because otherwise, it shines a light on them. It reflects badly on them. it makes them look bad. Which is why it's all about dimming your light, so it doesn't shine too hard on them. And you may notice that things seem to go in one direction, to what seemed to be overt in the beginning, or even more towards the devaluation. After that, it goes more covert. It's more subtle, it's more hidden. Because they've realized your power to destroy them. And that power comes from you having the control. So they've got to be in a position covertly where they can control you and dim your light. And also because by that point, it's the only way that they can remain around you. Because just by trying to dim your light and control you, they're really putting themselves on the edge. They're really risking exposing themselves for what they are. And yet some of us, we actually believe that someone like that can move on and find happiness with someone else. There's just no possible way that they can do that. Just remember how dependent they were on you, how much they needed you. It's like you were their parent, their caretaker, this person who always had to be there for them. So they're like a child. How can someone like that even move on their own and find happiness, comfort, peace? There's just no possible way. There's no possible way that they could do that. They were heavily dependent on you. And if you look at it, you never needed them. You never even received anything from them. They were constantly just taken from you. I mean, just look back throughout your relationship. Write down a list. What did you ever receive from them? And anything that you did receive, it's probably just something that you gave to them and then they give it back. They never gave you anything. And a person who cannot give you anything, what have they got to give to themselves? What have they got to give to another person to make another person happy? They couldn't even make you happy. And I know a lot of you, like myself, were quite easily amused. It doesn't take much to make us happy. Some of us, all we may need is just a sandwich, a back rub here and there, a pair of cheeks. And that's enough, we're satisfied. The narcissist couldn't even do that. So what chance have they got in finding satisfaction in themselves or in another person? There's just no possible way. The only thing they find satisfaction in is blaming you and pointing out everything that they think is wrong with you. That is the only thing that makes them feel alive. And it's like a drug, but the more they do it, not only the less effective it is, but the less satisfying it is for them. Until it gets to the point where even though they're around you, they still feel emotionally dead inside. And yet they point the finger at you, they blame you, as though you're not good enough, you can't make them happy. When it's just that their games have lost their effectiveness. And they're no longer finding satisfaction in their drug. Which is what inevitably happens. And yet they go from one person to the next, expecting something different. They just repeat the same cycle again and again. They're never happy, they're never satisfied with anyone. They might think they are in the beginning, but just give it time. It always ends in the same way. They are miserable people. They will never find happiness. And I don't want you to ever think that they will. Because if you ever think like that, you are living in a delusion. You are believing a lie. I've been doing this now pretty much every day for over 5 years. So trust me, I know exactly what I am talking about. I've learned from the best, some of the greatest narcissist experts and psychologists in the world. I can't say that I know everything, but I know a lot and I'm learning more every day. And trust me, there is just no possible way that anyone who is narcissistic could ever be happy. Happiness comes from empathy, from understanding another person's feelings and situations, putting yourselves in their shoes, which of course is not something that I advise you to do with a narcissist, because as we know, you may have been doing that for years, and where did it get you? What did that ever bring to you? All it ever did was drain you of your life and existence. And that's all that it's ever going to do to you. If you continue to give your empathy to someone who is undeserving of it, they're just going to use and exploit it. And by doing that, it's self-destructive. They're just going to destroy themselves in the end. And they're never going to find true happiness or satisfaction. And this is why we talk about this. This is why all of us were making these videos. To remind people and to promote that narcissism is not the answer. It doesn't lead anywhere good for anyone, not even themselves. It's empathy. We all need to have more empathy. And not only for other people, but also for ourselves. To recognize what we're going through, what we're putting ourselves in. I am seeing some questions here in the live chat. If you do have any questions, just let me know down below. Geneva is asking me here, are they born that way? On whether or not narcissists are born that way. From my research, a lot of it is inherited. But even if someone inherits the narcissism, it can still be adjusted in childhood. So really it is learned. This is something that was taught to them, most likely by their parents. They were taught to be this way. And it's interesting because if you look at it, all of the tactics they use, you can tell that these are the very same tactics they probably used to get their parents' attention. They're just doing the exact same things, regardless of their age, for the rest of their lives. So these are all manipulative tactics, coping and defense mechanisms that they have learned in childhood. Genetics may affect them as well, but it does seem that most of it is learned. Usually anything that is learned can be unlearned. But when it's things that are in childhood, even before our personalities are formed, before the brain is fully developed, then I think it is more difficult. I don't want to say impossible to reverse it. But anything that is learned later in life, doesn't matter what it is, it can be unlearned. John Tracy says they're like sharks patrolling the ocean, searching for prey. I like that, John. Yes, that's exactly what they're like. They are predators. And quite clearly, they are missing something within. They're deficient. They have a void that they cannot fill. So they're going to be patrolling the oceans for the rest of their lives. But they're always going to feel emotionally starved. Holly says, despite where they're from, what age, they're all the same. How can they all have the same characteristics? From my research, I believe that these are all adaptations to a hostile environment in childhood. So they've experienced abuse or neglect. And then it's just the way that the brain responds. If you choose to go down that path of narcissism, where you become more focused on self, you develop these coping and defense mechanisms to protect and defend yourself against the hostile environment and for your own emotional survival. So that is why all of their tactics appear the same. That's why they all seem to do the same thing. But again, some people believe that there is a spiritual aspect to this. I mean, there is no hardcore evidence of that, of course. And there probably never will be. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they are possessed by a demonic spirit. And I believe that I have touched upon that in some of my videos. It does appear as though they're possessed by something. The spirit of envy where they're just so determined to go out and target people and take things from them, use and abuse them. Just that spirit of envy, it won't let them rest. Arlene Andrea says, I believe it's childhood traumas that bring narcissism to the forefront. Yes, that's really it. They're all learned behaviors, but it's things that they've learned as a result of their childhood traumas. It's a post-traumatic stress response to where they were abused or neglected in childhood. They didn't have their emotional needs met when they were children. If they did, then they wouldn't have turned out this way. They wouldn't have a void. They would be able to regulate themselves. So yes, what you're saying there, it's very true. But yes, I don't want anyone to finish watching this video with the thought, the belief that the narcissist that they were dealing with has just moved on. I know they're off, they're happy with someone else. They're satisfied when they could never find satisfaction with you. They could never be happy. It's like no matter what you did for them, it was never enough. Person, if they're going to go off and find happiness and satisfaction, before they could ever even be able to do that, they would have to be coming back to you after everything they did to you. They would have to be coming back to make amends before they could ever go off and find satisfaction somewhere else. But of course, they're not going to do that because they lack empathy. And of course, they will try to twist it around as though they're and you harmed them. And that's why they're to discard you and find someone else. But you just got to look back at all of the things they did to you. All of the abuse. It might have been physical, mental, emotional, financial. Of course, they will gaslight you, especially towards the end. But just look at it. How much have you lost? How much has it affected your mind, body, and soul? And that is how you should know who is who was who in that relationship. By understanding what you went through. And how they showed no concern, they didn't even care. You really think that someone like that, who is so messed up in the head, that they could do all of these things to you, and they're not jumping, running at the chance to make amends for you? You think a person like that could ever move on and be happy? There's just no way. Because I know myself as an empath. If I treated someone even a fraction of the way that they treat people, there's no way that I would be able to sleep at night. There's just no possible way that I could do that. I would be calling them on the phone. I would be going to their house. I would be on my hands and knees, begging them to give me another chance. If I had treated them even a fraction of the way that they treat their victims, and they'll be happy. They will never find peace within themselves. Because despite how it may look, at some level, yes, they do have a conscience. They suppress it. They do feel guilt and shame. They are shame-based people who are running from their shame because they know all too well that they do wrong. And that's why they're never at peace. They're never at rest. They're always out targeting someone else, trying to bring someone else down. Never trying to bring anything to anyone's life. But as an awakened empath myself, I look back and I realize that my problem is I always gave too much of myself. I overextended myself for other people. Just over the last few years, I lost hundreds of thousands of pounds. I lost so much of my business. It affected my health. I lost everything just in an effort to please people and make them happy. And I know a lot of you can relate to that. And by doing that, for us, we can sleep at night. There's nothing that really replays on our conscience in the way that it does for them. And this is really the cycle of abuse. Because what they do is they abuse, and then they feel bad. It triggers their shame. It's too painful. They can't deal with it. So then they've got to come after you again. They've got to blame you. They've got to accuse you to suppress the shame. And yet it continues to grow within them. They are never at rest. And I really need you to know that. I just need you to understand. I don't ever want you to think that this person who harmed you, they abused you, they treated you like garbage, and then it looks like they just forgot about you, they ran off onto someone else. I don't ever want you to think that they just moved on and now they're happy. And not because it's true, but because if you believe that, you are most definitely believing in a delusion. That is incorrect. They are not experiencing peace, happiness, contentment. They never are, and they never will. They are always going to be miserable. And a lot of times they are always going to be on your case. They're always going to be trying to bring down things for you, because they already know that unlike them, you can experience true peace, love, happiness, and joy. That is a reality for you. as it most likely was before you met them. Maybe you were a bit lonely, but you were okay, you were happy. And then they came along and they brought this misery into your life, because misery loves company. They find pleasure in other people's pain, in other people's sadness and misfortune. So don't ever think that. Don't ever think that they are happy without you. I can assure you that it does play on their mind. It does play on their conscience, regardless of how things turned out. They may try to suppress it, but it is always there. It's nagging them in their minds. And it's the reason why they can never be happy. Because they already know fully well what they did to you. Not much of a view out here, but I'm still traveling. Just enjoying my travels, exploring things. I saw some beautiful views earlier today. I know it was a bit intense, this video. But this is most definitely one of those topics that I'm really passionate about. Because I know the things that you've been through. I may not know the exact situation, but I have a pretty good idea from my own experiences and research. And it's really messed up how they can do that. And then also portray it as though they're moving on, they found someone else. And they just leave you alone, isolated, without any closure or validation, without any support. And that is why I have to get on here and be a voice. I have to tell you exactly how it is. Of course, as you know, I'm not here to sugarcoat things. I have to bring the truth. And everything that I've said in this video is true to my knowledge, my research and experience. And I believe that, yes, it is a guarantee 100%. They are never going to find inner peace, love, joy, happiness, satisfaction, contentment, whether with themselves or with anyone else. That is never going to happen. And yes, I do believe that that is their karma. It's because they leave things unresolved. They're the perpetrators in every situation. They're always the cause of it. And yet they just let things go on. And yet we look at them when we're dealing with them. They're always arguing, fighting. And yet we wonder why they're always miserable. That's why. But I don't know about you. It's really not difficult for me at all. Even after everything I've been through, all of the abuse, all of the things that narcissists have done to me, I can still find that happiness, that joy, that peace within myself. And it is very easy for me to do that. And not only that, but it is very easy for me to appreciate other people. Two things that narcissists cannot do. It's never good enough for them. They're never satisfied. But for me, it's quite easy to find pleasure and gratification in the little things in life. Because I do believe that that is exactly what we are supposed to do. And that is something that I am going to keep doing. It's something that I stand by. It's something that I believe in. So of course I am going to keep doing that. And I hope you will do that as well. Focus on that peace within yourself. Focus on the things that make you feel good. And then you can go on and share that with another person. Someone who likes the same things. They can share the same experiences that you enjoy. Because of course, as we know, you can't do that with a narcissist. It just irritates them. It just winds them up even more because of course, they can't find fulfillment in that. But it's something that we like, we are drawn to it. It makes us happy, we appreciate it. We want more of it. And we enjoy other people's satisfaction as well. But narcissists, it just makes them miserable. They're very envious. So no, you cannot bring your happiness to them. They're only going to hate it and destroy it. Keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. But that person will never be them. You're not just going to be around them having a good time. That's never going to happen. Maybe with someone who is maybe slightly narcissistic. They're not really abusive. They're not seeking to harm anyone. They're just maybe a little bit over-focused on their image, how they see themselves, how they want to portray themselves to the world. You can have a good time with them. But these narcissists, people who are manipulative, deceptive, they're looking to harm you. You cannot have a good time with someone like that. You will never experience happiness with them. As long as you're around them, you will always feel miserable. And yet they will still come around you because misery loves company. But yes, until that time, when you do find someone who is more like yourself, just focus on yourself. Focus on what makes you happy. The good things, the little things. Just things. whatever makes you smile. And yes, that may hurt the narcissist. It may irritate them. But that's just how it is. And what are we supposed to do? Deny ourselves of our own happiness? We have no intention of hurting them. And a lot of times we may even try to hide things from them. But they just keep coming back. They keep coming around it. They keep wanting to see it when it's just no good for them. They're never going to be happy for us. So all we can really do is go no contact, continue along our journey, just continue experiencing our happiness. It may not vibe well with them, but we enjoy it. It makes us feel good. So why should we stop now? I think what we really need is just an island for all of us empaths, where we can stay together, live how we want to live, just be at peace with ourselves, share our happiness and accomplishments with each other. But it has to be a place where no narcissists are allowed. Because if you invite them in, they're always going to be miserable. They don't want to see you happy. They don't want to do anything that's going to make you feel good. It's all about just taking, destroying, because that's what feels good for them. But who knows, maybe one day we will have our own little island. Just empaths. We can all have a great time. That's just my dream anyway. Who knows if it will ever become a reality? But I hope that it does. Because there really are too many narcissists in this world. They're all just thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about, how can I bring happiness to another person? They're not thinking like that at all. But that's exactly how I'm thinking. And I'm just hoping that I can find other people who think the same way. Because that's exactly what I want, what I need in my life. I'm sure that's what we all want. Because nothing feels better than that. When you've got someone who, it's like they can read your mind, they can understand your emotions, they can see what you're going through, what you've been through. They can recognize that discomfort, that frustration, and they just know that they cannot rest until they relieve you of it. And it is very satisfying when you find someone like that. Someone who recognizes your pain and discomfort. And they just have to relieve that for you. It's like they just can't rest until they know that you are okay. And of course, it needs to be in reverse as well. We need to do the same thing for them. And as empaths, we should find pleasure in that as well. But yes, don't worry about the narcissist. They're getting their karma. They're not happy with their new supply or with anyone else. They were miserable when they were with you. They're miserable after they leave. They're miserable with whoever they meet. And they are miserable until the very end. So do not overplay it in your head. Do not overanalyze the situation. Just trust what I am saying. I've been through it so many times. I've seen the results. I've done the work, the research. I've got the experience. And I've already seen 2 videos. There's one of Richard Grannon, the psychologist from Liverpool. And then there was another one from Ireland. They both confirmed that, yes, narcissism is self-destructive. It does not lead to happiness or satisfaction. I think even Dr. Ramani touched on that as well. So don't worry about it. Don't overplay it in your mind. I don't know what time it is where you are right now, but it's quite late here. And I just hope that you can rest, you can get some sleep. Don't ruminate. Don't let it keep you awake. You're going to be all right. Just take care of yourself. Continue watching my videos. Everything will get better in time. And I just want you to know that. But yes, as always, thank you for watching my video. If you would like to show your support, you can give it a thumbs up down below. Let me know your thoughts as well in the comment section. I read your comments every day. And you can share the video, subscribe. And if you'd like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, I am available anytime. You can book on my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And then there's my Instagram as well. I put up new pictures and videos every day on there. It is Narc Survivor YouTube on Instagram. Again, 101 live viewers. I'd just like to thank you all for joining me on this live video. And as always, I will talk to you very soon.